Hi, I'm Angela Stinson with Preschool Promise here at the Early Learning Division, and today I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on finishing the Preschool Promise end of year report. In the Preschool Promise bulletin you received, you will click on the FAQ and end of year report link. This will open up a document which has a link at the very end of the page. To get to the form, you'll click on that link. Notice that this report is being captured by JotForm instead of Smartsheet. I find that Chrome has worked a little bit better for me than Internet Explorer or other browsers. Some computer software will give you an alert for JotForm asking if you trust the link, but once you click Allow, you'll enter your name and email address to get a personalized link for the end of the year report. If you have the data ready to go, the report should take you approximately 45 to 60 minutes, and you will need to fill out a form for each site. So if you have multiple sites, be prepared to sit down and focus for a little while. The personalized link helps you if you need to step away and come back later. Just make sure that you advance to the next page or save your work before you step away to come back to it. This report is specific to the 2020 program year, and please include all children served throughout the year through Preschool Promise, even if they only attended for one day. So I'm going to advance to the next page here. You'll see that I already entered in some dummy information just to get us started. So you'll start the form by providing some basic info about your program. If you have multiple sites, you'll want to determine which site you're reporting for. It doesn't matter which number you select for each site. We just want to know if this is the first, second, or third that you're reporting on to help us keep the data straight. If your site is licensed, or let's look at eligibility first. So if you are an OPK or a tribal grantee who did your own eligibility processes for Preschool Promise children, you'll click yes, and there'll be some additional questions related to enrollment in the form. But if you went through your hub, you'll click no, and you won't need to answer those additional questions. So answer basic information around your specific site that you're reporting for here, what type of provider you are, and the number of Preschool Promise slots you have at this specific site. You'll select whether or not this program is licensed by the Office of Child Care. If you are licensed, you'll include your license number here. If you're not, you can enter your RA number or your ODE institution ID, or if you need help finding either of those things, please contact us. Here's some basic program information. So whether or not you had a change in business ownership or a director this reporting year, your current Spark rating, your date that you started Preschool Promise and ended Preschool Promise this year, the total number of program days in your calendar year this program year, and then the number of actual in-person Preschool Promise service hours provided this program year. Remember that we didn't ask about virtual service hours or other things because our requirement is really around direct instruction. So please just include the direct instructional hours that you provided in person. We know that a lot of folks weren't able to meet the 900 hours this year for various reasons. So if you did select fewer than 900 hours, you'll notify us why below. Here's where we're going to ask about your site's service delivery model. Notice that you can click more than one. Some folks started off with one type of service delivery model and ended at another as things started to open back up. So select whichever ones you participated in this year, and then the number of days each week that you were operating. We have some questions down here around services that you provided, including family engagement, kindergarten transition activities. Continue on the next page. This page is going to ask questions around curriculum, screening, and assessment. So you can let us know what type of curriculum you used this year. If you didn't use one of the three typical curriculums, you can enter which curriculum you did use. And then your child level social and emotional curriculum or tools used for preschool promise children, as well as what formative assessment tools you used for children this year. And then any screening tools that you used for preschool promise children. If you made any referrals based on the results of your screening, you can indicate that here. And then the next section is going to be around eligibility and the total number of children served. So remember that if you did your own eligibility because you're an OPK or tribal program, this is going to be a much larger section for you. But in my case, I selected that the hub did my eligibility and enrollment for me. So I'm just going to indicate that I served a total of 20 children. This page is going to ask for classroom details. And I did this earlier, so mine is pre-populated here, but you'll indicate how many classrooms, based on how many classrooms you entered prior in the form, you'll enter information about each classroom here. So I'm going to call my room the Ladybug room. Remember that I was given 18 slots, so my classroom is going to be 18 children, even though I served a total of 20 children over the program year. My classroom is, in this example, not using blended or braided funding. And in my example, we didn't do class or ERS observations this year. This next section is around cumulative children served. Just like I mentioned that this is about the total number of children that you served, even if they weren't there for the entirety of the preschool promise year. So in my example, I have 18 slots, but I'm saying that 20 children total were served throughout the year. So this is going to be some child level information here. So 20 children served, and I'm, to make it easy for this form, I'm saying that 10 were 3 at the time of enrollment and 10 were 4 at the time of enrollment. I'm noting how many children had IFSPs and their corresponding gender, notes about children's ethnicity and race, information on children's primary home language, children's gender, and then the total cumulative children that you served who were in foster care and or who were homeless or having housing insecurity. The next section asks questions around children who left the program before the end of the program year. So in my case, I'm saying yes, 2 children did not complete the entirety of the preschool promise year. In my example, 1 child moved out of the area and 1 child was placed in a special education classroom. To follow up, there's some inclusionary practices questions. So a question around if any children were asked to take a break from care. In my example, I'm saying yes, we did ask a child to take a break. And this was because my program couldn't meet their needs. And I felt as the provider that there were challenging behaviors or safety concerns for this example. The follow-up question is around, of this group of children or number of children, however many, in my case, just 1, that were asked to take a break, what was the race, ethnic, gender, and developmental needs of that particular child? So in my case, I'm giving the example that this child was white. And then so I didn't indicate whether the child was male or female, but I'm going to say it was a female child, white female child who had an IFSP. In my example, I'm saying that no children were asked to leave permanently, but you can include what's relative to your program here. And then for attendance, you're doing the complete cumulative attendance over the entire year. So you reported your attendance, average daily attendance each month in your monthly report. This is going to be for every monthly report for every month that you were in session. What was your total cumulative average daily attendance? In my case, I'm going to say it was 70%. I'm going to say that every family received a parent orientation this year. It'll ask about parent-teacher conferences. In my case, I am using an example that 15 of my 20 kiddos received the opportunity to do one. And these 5 kiddos who've been with me since the beginning had the opportunity to do 2. And I did the same example for formative child level assessments, that 15 children had the opportunity to do 1 this year, and 5 children had the opportunity to do 2. We know that COVID has affected your ability to provide as many parent-teacher conferences sometimes, in some cases this year, and same thing with child level formative assessments. So please just be upfront with what you were capable of doing for this program year. Tab 5 covers site staff details. So earlier in the form, I selected that I have 3 staff that are involved in Preschool Promise. So in this section, however many staff you indicated, you're going to provide some information around your staffing. So in my example, I'm just going to go over the lead teacher assignment. So my lead teacher in the Ladybug room is making $46,000 annually, hitting that minimum salary for a staff member with a bachelor's degree, but not quite hitting the target yet. Please don't check my math, but I'm saying that she makes $21 an hour and was employed for 10 months this year. In my example, I was super fortunate. She did not leave before the end of the program year. She stuck around, and we are offering a few different benefits, including paid sick time and paid holidays, education assistance, and meals. In my example, my lead teacher has been in early childhood education for 4 years, but she's new to Preschool Promise this year. I'm going to note my provider or my lead teacher's ethnicity and race, their primary language, and then their education level, and their ORO step. Tab 6 is simply asking if the director of the site is also the lead teacher in one of the classrooms. In my case, I said yes, and then you'll indicate which classroom that teacher is the lead teacher for. Page 7, everybody's favorite topic, we're going to go over COVID-specific questions. So whether or not your site reported for becoming, the site that you're reporting for became an emergency childcare provider site, whether or not you had to temporarily close due to COVID this program year, and then how successful you feel you were able to execute your chosen service delivery model at this site. And then we're going to talk about, in this unique year, which aspects of operating and implementing Preschool Promise were the most challenging and which were less challenging, including enrollment, adhering to the COVID health and safety guidelines, hiring or retaining staff, etc. Indicating whether or not COVID impacted professional development of opportunities, your ability to implement your curriculum, your ability to screen, assess, and make referrals, and then we'll ask you for details below. Information on whether it impacted your ability to engage families and details around that. And then these last couple pages, we're asking for your feedback. You'll recall that in June, we had a provider feedback day that was very limited. We tried to do really small groups for that. So we mentioned to some folks that were interested that they could, of course, email us anytime, but that also we were going to be including similar questions in the end of year report. So this is your chance to help us grow at the state. Um, and so, yeah, so we're starting with a question around professional learning, a few questions around professional learning. We noticed that a lot of people talked about the impacts of COVID-19 on professional learning. So some questions here. And that 2.5% of your budget that was allocated toward professional development, whether you were able to utilize it fully this year, whether you believe that you would be able to fully utilize it in a non-COVID year, and anything else that you want us to know about that 2.5%. An open-ended question about your experience working with your hub on family recruitment and enrollment and any suggestions you have. Which of the communication methods from ELD you utilized, and then which worked best for you. We're asking questions about your satisfaction with each of those. My example, I'm across the board here. Some questions around budget and financial management. So, do you feel like you had adequate instructions around your budget? How satisfied were you with the EGM system? Whether or not you had a claim rejected for any reason, and if you fully understood why your claim was rejected, if it was. And then just a few open-ended questions for you about advantages of being a preschool promise provider, challenges of being a preschool promise provider or grantee, and any other feedback. So this is your opportunity to really share with us and help us grow. Finally, you're going to certify that the information submitted on the form is true and accurate, and you can preview your answers. You can go through, make sure that everything is as you would like it. I'm going to scroll down quickly and make everybody dizzy here. When you're done, you're going to confirm that the information given is true, complete, and accurate. You're welcome to print it. And then you'll know that your submission has been received. So thanks so much for joining us for this recording of a tutorial for the end of year preschool promise report. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out to us at psp@state.or.us. Thanks so much.